Okay, let's just get started. So, okay, hi, Julia. This lesson, we're going to be talking about grammar and reading comprehension. And first, let's talk about tenses. So obviously there's past, present, and future tense, but then there's also past simple, present simple, future simple, past perfect, present perfect, future perfect, past continuous, present continuous, future continuous, and then past perfect continuous, present perfect continuous, and future perfect continuous. So past, so anything with simple at the end basically means will do. So I will study English is basically what it means. And then anything with continuous at the end means will be doing. And perfect refers to will have done. And perfect continuous is will have been doing. So we can look at some examples. So past simple, I ate pizza yesterday. This indicates a past habit or an action already completed. And it can be used without or with adverbs of time. Simple present is I eat pizza every day. And it expresses habits or a general truth. It also indicates a future event on a designated day, which means a planned day, as part of a plan or an arrangement. And it's used with mental action verbs like love, want, need, believe. Those are like internal kind of actions. That's what mental actions are. And then simple future is I will eat pizza tomorrow. So it indicates an action, condition, or circumstance which hasn't taken place yet. So you haven't eaten the pizza yet, but you've planned it. I will eat pizza tomorrow. Past continuous. I was eating pizza when you arrived. It indicates an uncompleted action of the past. And it can be, it doesn't necessarily have to reference the time. And it indicates persistent habits of the past, like always, continuously, forever. And you always see those types of words in past continuous. So next one, present continuous. I am eating pizza right now. And it indicates an action going on at the time of speaking. It also can indicate a temporary action which may not be happening at the time of speaking. So they don't necessarily have to be eating pizza right now. With a habitual action verb, especially to indicate a stubborn habit. Simple, continuous, future continuous. I will be eating pizza when you arrive. It indicates what will be going on at some time in the future, and it indicates planned future events. And then this is past perfect. I had eaten all of the pizza when you arrived. It indicates a completed action of the past that happened before another event took place. So the pizza had already been eaten. And then present, perfect. I have eaten all of the pizza. And it indicates a past action which is not defined by a time of occurrence. And it also indicates an action which has started in the past and continued up until now. And the last one, future, perfect. I will have eaten all of the pizza by the time you arrive. It indicates an action that will be complete before another event takes place. Hi, everybody that joined. We're talking about grammar and editing and revising. Okay. And right now we're talking about tenses. So Past perfect continuous. I had been eating pizza for 2 hours when you arrived. This indicates an action in the past that began before a certain point in the past and continued. This one, present perfect continuous. I have been eating pizza for 2 hours. To indicate an action which started at some point in the past, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a completed action. The final one, future perfect continuous. I will have been eating pizza for 2 hours when you arrive. This indicates an action that will have happened for some time and will not be complete yet at a certain point in the future. So practice identifying tenses. First one, she took her daughter to the doctor. Took is a keyword. So I would say that it is present tense, took. And I would say that it's present continuous because she took her daughter to the doctor, indicates an action that may or may not be happening at the time of speaking. I will always remember this. Will always is a key word. So I think that it's going to be present tense again. And I would say that it's present perfect continuous. Will have been. Notice have been. And it indicates an action which started at some point in the past, but it may or may not be complete. Third one, they asked me to wait. Asked me to. So that would be present tense again. And it would be simple present. It expresses a future event on a designated day as part of a plan or arrangement. They asked me to wait. That's a future plan. The fourth one, I have been studying since morning. I have been. So I think again, it's present tense. And I think it's present perfect. It indicates a past action which is not defined by a time of occurrence. I have been studying since morning. Yeah, it indicates an action that started in the past and continued until now. I have finished the task assigned to me. I have finished. So that would be present tense again. And that would be present perfect tense. And it indicates a past action which is not defined by time of occurrence. And number 6, what were you doing then? What were you doing then? It would be past tense, right? Because were. And then it would indicate a past habit or an action already completed. And the last one, this time tomorrow, I will be playing with my friends. So it's a future plan, right? So it would be past perfect continuous. And these are the answers. Okay, now let's move on to editing and revising. So there's a difference between revising and editing. So for revising, you can remember what it is using the acronym ARMS. So you add sentences and words. You remove, you move, or substitute. And then for editing, you can use cups to remember it. So you use capitalization, usage, punctuation, and spelling. So revising is more like adding on or editing, adding on, or like rearranging what's already written. And editing is like changing like the actual hello. And editing is like changing the actual text and actual structure of what you're writing. Okay, so more about revisions. They add details. So you add imagery, emotions, dialogue, and you also add facts, statistics, and examples. So just adding more details in your writing. And also you delete unnecessary information. So to make it more concise. So you combine or remove ideas, and you look for synonyms and repeated words. So this isn't like editing where you delete information. It's more just rearranging information and rearranging for clarity and effect. When revising, look for repetitive words, grammar mistakes, and add more emotions, imagery, and dialogue. Example. So this is an example of revision. Willow stood up and ambled toward a bookshelf. "This is a library," she replied. "Roving the area, I observed this was a library, all right. The thing was, this was the messiest library I've ever seen. Dull-colored books were scattered on the floor, while cobwebs and dust concealed almost every inch of the library. Just then, a woman that seemed to be in her early 40s came out from a door high up in the library, almost at the ceiling. There weren't any stairs or other objects to help her down. That didn't surprise us, but what did make us cover our mouths with our hands was her gray cat next to her, started sprouting wings and grew until it looked like 3 elephants combined. The woman hopped onto the cat as the cat fluttered to the ground." So the underlined portions are better word choice. So dead word. Willow stood up and ambled toward the bookshelf. Instead of saying walked, you could use the word ambled. She replied instead of said. Roving the area, searching, instead of saying searching or looking around the area, you could say roving. Scattered instead of around on the floor or on the floor. That's just better word choice. And for red text, it's deleted text. "I observed this was a library." All right. This word is really unnecessary and you can delete it. Dull-colored books were scattered on the floor. So you could delete were. That's one of the words that you're going to see later that we want to avoid these words. So dull-colored books scattered on the floor, while cobwebs and dust concealed almost every inch of the library. Just then, a woman, so this would be deleted and probably replaced with a more descriptive word choice instead of just saying a woman. And the next one, there weren't any stairs or other objects to help her down. So instead of using weren't, you would like to use a better word choice. And green highlight is a redundant or wordy phrase. Dull-colored books were scattered on the floor, while cobwebs and dust concealed almost every inch of the library. So this is redundant because the part before it is the messiest library I've ever seen. So you can make this a bit more concise, and instead of talking about how messy it was, you could just talk about more descriptive words. And then next part, cover our mouths with our hands. You can make this more concise. It just sounds kind of like an awkward phrase. So you'd want to revise that and come up with a better phrase. 3 elephants combined, you could just say gigantic, but this is a very wordy phrase. Okay, now let's talk about gerunds. Gerunds are verbs that act like nouns, and they often have ing at the end of them. So they're verbs, but they act like nouns. So some examples: running is good for your heart. Gerunds are, running is a gerund. He hates waking up early, and learning is important. Gerunds can create wordiness. So in this, these are two examples. Every year, tens of thousands of students apply to the most selective colleges, with the gaining of admission to these schools being their goal. Every year, tens of thousands of students apply to the most selective colleges in order to gain admission to these schools. So these two gerunds make the sentence kind of wordy. So you can delete being their goal, right? And you could replace gaining with to gain. Replace a gerund with a noun, pronoun, or verb in wordy sentences. Justin is a huge fan of gymnastics because of it being a sport that combines artistry, athleticism, strength, and acrobatics. Justin is a huge fan of gymnastics because it is a sport that combines artistry, athleticism, strength, and acrobatics. Okay. However, gerunds can be used correctly for being the subject or the object of the sentence. They can also be used correctly to maintain parallel structure, like we talked about last time, and indicating a way or method of doing something. For example, I made this cake by following the recipe. Following is a gerund, but it's used correctly. Examples. People were unprepared for the sinking of the Titanic simply because of believing that the ship was unsinkable. So believing is a gerund, right? And it makes it kind of wordy. So let's see how to revise it. So we could replace it with of believing that the ship was unsinkable, of having a belief that the ship was in the ship as unsinkable. They believed that the ship was unsinkable. They believed the unsinkable nature of the ship, or of a belief on their part of an unsinkable ship. I think that the most concise answer choice would be C. They believed that the ship was unsinkable. So we can reread it. People were unprepared for the sinking of the Titanic simply because they believed that the ship was unsinkable. I think that's the best word choice. The next one, psychologists do not agree about what is the definition of happiness and how to measure it. So A, what is the definition of happiness and how to measure it? How to define and measure happiness? How to define happiness and also its measurement? The definition of happiness and measuring it. And E, defining happiness as well as measurement. Oops, sorry. So the answer choice would be B. It's the most concise. So if you take it back into the original sentence, psychologists do not agree about how to define and measure happiness. That summarizes what this wordy phrase means. So those are the answers. Okay. My grandfather's favorite activities are taking walks in the countryside, having dinner out, going to museums, and classical music. So the first answer choice is no change. Second one is taking walks in the countryside, dinner in restaurants, museums, and classical music. Third one, country walks, having dinner out, going to museums, and classical music. And the last one, taking walks in the countryside, having dinner out, going to museums, and listening to classical music. So remember, for parallel structure, it has to have a repeating grammatical structure to it. So this doesn't have the same grammatical structure. Going to, having, taking, those aren't the same structure. So I would say that answer choice I would be correct. Taking walks in the countryside, having dinner out, going to museums, and listening to classical music, right? Because here, classical music, it doesn't really fit with the grammatical structure. So it would be this answer choice. Any questions so far? No? Okay. Now let's move on to reading comprehension. So this text, I'm going to have some questions on reading comprehension at the end of this text, so make sure you pay attention and truly understand. Okay, imagine that you get an email one morning. It appears to be from your bank. The email warns that someone broke into your account. It says that you need to sign in to check some things. You click the link in the email, it takes you to a site that looks very much like your bank's. You enter your username and password and you submit the form. You've just been phished. Phishing is a type of attack that happens over the internet. Users receive an email or text message that seems like it came from a trusted source. These users are being deceived. They are interacting with dangerous hackers. The attackers copy trusted companies. They send users to web pages that look like the ones we use every day. When users log in or provide sensitive information, the attackers steal this data. Attackers want your data for many reasons. They may use your data to commit identity fraud. This is when they use your identity to buy something with your credit. Then they receive the goods you receive and you receive the bill. Or they may want your password to take over a computer network. They may want access to private emails. They may want customer records. They gain access by tricking people into giving them their login info. Some phishing attacks are targeted. A targeted phishing attack is called a spear phishing attack. These attacks are dangerous because they are convincing. The attacker may know the target's name, address, or job title. They may have gathered info from social networks, like the names of friends or family. The attackers may use this personal information to craft a believable email. The target will be tricked into clicking a link. The link will send them to a phony website. This site will look familiar, but it will be a spoof site built to steal data. Any data that the target submits will go to the hacker. Phishing attacks are dangerous, but you can spot them if you pay attention. One thing to watch is your address bar in your browser. Attackers use domains that look like the ones we trust, but they are not the same. For example, in 2016, staffers from Hillary Clinton's campaign were spearphished. The attackers used the domain accounts google.com. That domain looks like google.com, but it isn't the same. When logging into Google, you should always do it from google.com. Likewise, when logging into any account, make sure the address matches what you expect. If you are unsure, search for the site and log in from the root domain. So first reading question, what is a phishing attack? Can you guys type in the chat what a phishing attack is? So A is throwing water on an adversary's computer. B is tricking someone into giving away sensitive data. C, sneaking into a concert without paying. And D, buying something with something else's credit. B, yes. Does everyone agree with that? B? Okay, let's see what the answer is. Yep. Okay, 2. What is the difference between a phishing and spear phishing attack? Is it A, spear phishing attack is targeted while phishing is random? A phishing attack is illegal while spear phishing is legal. A spear phishing attack involves theft or identity fraud and phishing does not. Or a phishing attack is more convincing than a spear phishing attack. Does everyone remember? Good try, Phylicia. It's actually going to be A, because a spear phishing attack, remember, it's more targeted than a normal phishing attack. Because think of phishing like you're fishing with the net. You're just randomly fishing for whatever fish. But for spear phishing, you're targeting one fish, right? So that's how you can remember. Okay. Next question. Okay. Which is not a motive or reason for phishing mentioned in the text? So notice this as not a motive. So to steal private communication or records, to commit identity fraud, to gain control of someone else's computer network, or to disarm home alarm systems. Yep, it's D. Phishing is all a virtual attack, so it would never be a physical, like disarming your home alarm system. Correct. And there's a lot of reading questions where you have to notice the words that are like in all caps, like not, because all of these are true. So if you misread it and you thought it was looking for motives or reasons for phishing, you could get this wrong. So make sure you read carefully. Okay. Which statement would the author most likely agree with? Every phishing attack involves stealing the victim's identity to commit fraud. In a phishing attack, an attacker overpowers the victim with a stronger computer. In a spear phishing attack, the attacker erases the victim's identity. If a phishing attack is successful, users willingly give attackers sensitive data. So which answer choice would it be? D? Yep, that's correct. And so the first choice would be incorrect, right? Because it's not every phishing attack. So when you're eliminating options, make sure that you read the statement to yourself and ask yourself, like in the form of a question, if it's true or not. So ask yourself, is every phishing attack like stealing the victim's identity? Is every phishing attack like identity fraud? And if you go back and reread it, you know that that's incorrect. This one is just not right. In C, in a spear phishing attack, the attacker erases the victim's identity. Ask yourself, did the author ever mention erasing the victim's identity in the text? And if it's not in the text, then there's no way to prove that that answer choice is right, so don't choose it. Okay, now let's talk about some revisions. So like we talked about before, the difference between revising and editing. So revising is adding sentences and words, removing sentences and words, moving words or the placement of a sentence, and substituting words and sentences for new ones. So in order to revise well, you need to know what dead words are in their alternatives. So dead words are basically words that are really overused in writing. So some dead words are said, and you can replace it with talk, call, whisper, blame, scream, yell, murmured, mumble, replied, announce, and stated. So instead of saying, Jenna said, I'm happy, you could say, Jenna replied, I am happy. Jenna announced, I am happy. Jenna proclaimed, I am happy. Another dead word is happy, actually. So you can replace it with joyful, cheerful, content, elated, ecstatic, excited, glad, pleased, or thrilled. And walk, you could replace it with plodding, prancing, tiptoed, shuffled. Pretty, you could replace it with beautiful, elegant, graceful, lovely, cute, charming, good looking. Run, you could replace it with bolted, sprinted, dashed. So keep in mind, whenever you're revising and you see any of these kind of dead words, just know like I should probably replace those words. They're very overused and it'll make your text very boring to read. So revisions, once again, they add details, they add imagery, emotions, dialogue, facts, statistics, examples. They delete unnecessary information by combining or removing ideas, looking for synonyms for repeated words, and rearranging and organizing information for clarity. So when you're writing, you always want to have. Yes, of course, you can leave. Thank you for coming. The homework will be sent on your email, okay? So when you're revising and rearranging and organizing information, you have to ask yourself if this organization is good and it makes sense and it's in a logical order, because sometimes in our writing, like we'll have information that's misplaced. So organization is really important for good writing. Some tips. You can eliminate filler words in your writing, such as that, of, or up. So for example, I said that I was tired. You can eliminate the filler word and change it to I said I was tired. And you can also eliminate extra nouns. So Luis was interested in the computer science field. Obviously, it's implied that computer science is a field, so you really don't need to say that. And you could just completely delete field to change the sentence to Luis was interested in computer science. Also, avoid starting sentences with there is, there are, or it is. So you could, the incorrect version is, there are 4 officers who report to the captain. And you could eliminate this and change it to 4 officers report to the captain. Additionally, you can eliminate extra nouns. Oops, is this repeated? Sorry, we already looked at that. You could write an active, not passive voice. So a decision to vote on the issue was made by the committee this week. Was made, that's in passive voice. This week, the committee decided to vote on the issue. So that's much better arrangement. And that kind of is like rearranging the words, right? Because this week it was at the end originally, but you moved it to the front when you are writing in active voice, not passive voice. Okay, and now we can look at the homework worksheet. Sorry guys, I always finish really early. Okay. So this is what your homework is gonna look like. First, we're gonna do some tense practice. So you have to write the word in correct tense, the word that's in the parentheses, and then identify which tense you used. So either present simple, present continuous, past simple, past continuous, or present perfect. And I will send these slides to you guys so you can look at them while you're doing the homework. Yeah. And then the difference between revising and editing. And then knowing the definition of gerunds and dead words. And then alternatives to these dead words, pretty, bad, big. And then filler words that we aim to eliminate. And wordy phrases. Editing. And that's it. Does anyone have any questions on what we talked about? Any questions on the tenses or gerunds or anything? Reading comprehension? No questions? Okay, well, that's it for today. If you guys want to leave, you can. Thank you. Bye.